Hey, it's Nicole with NicoleLynnay.life and bsmission.org. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to talk a little bit today about how Spirit helped me rid myself of all addictions. Now, when you think of addictions, well, for me, when I think of addictions, the first thing I think about is like alcohol, drugs, and all that stuff. That wasn't my addiction, interestingly enough. Or we could even think about food addictions, when you're eating a lot. For me, years ago, I had a reading from this woman, and she said something to me about I had too many addictions. And I thought to her, I don't do drugs. I don't drink that often. Like, what are you talking about, right? Well, it wasn't until I went through my spiritual journey that I realized where my addiction lied. And how Spirit, very tricky spirit that it is, knew how to help me to kind of do a addiction detox, I guess you would call it. So for me, what ended up happening was all the things that I thought brought me joy started getting taken away from me. So financially, if you've seen any of my videos, financially things were rocky, really down to like nothing. Like it just, and I've always been the kind of person who's been able to take care of her family and, had a job and I bought a house and I had a car, all the things that I worked really hard to do. And that I thought that this is what was really important, without me knowing it. I ended up selling my house and I moved, and then I went through my spiritual quest, and then there was no more money left. I couldn't get a job. It was like I was going to apply for jobs and I wasn't getting anything, even like basic jobs that you really would have thought, like, there's no reason I should not be getting this job, right? Like, what's going on in the universe? And that kind of also lets you know that there's way more going on here than what meets the eye. But when this happened, the lesson and the gifts that kind of came out from all these experiences was I kept going deep inside to start looking at, like, what am I holding on to? What's the block? And start clearing all these things out. But there was another aspect that I could see where my quote-unquote addictions were. Now, for me, I always enjoyed going out to nice restaurants, taking my son and my grandkids out to eat, buying them gifts, doing these things. These are things that brought me joy, right? Like, I enjoyed doing them. But what I didn't realize was they were also addictions, because I would kind of go to these experiences to make myself feel better. So if Spirit takes all your money from you and you're left in basic survival mode, you don't necessarily have the option to go do the things you once did that brought you joy, right? So instead, it turned into me going inside and clearing out all this baggage and trauma and different thoughts and beliefs that I thought that these things made me who I was, which none of that was true. Right? And the more that I did this, the more that I learned that my identity was wrapped up in a false construct of what the society told me I was to be. And this is what it means to be a really good person and human being. And once all that got stripped away from me, I was left just standing naked in my nakedness and in my truth, with nothing to hold on to and nothing to say I needed. Like, I am now somehow great because I have this, right? And once you do that, though, you really become empowered. You become self-empowered in yourself, in your own divinity, in your own greatness. And I can see the amazing gift that those experiences brought to me. In fact, there were times in my journey where when I would get triggered, Spirit would say, no, sit down. And everything in me wanted to just get up and call someone or do something or turn on the TV, distract myself from it. But I would listen to Spirit and I'd sit down and I'd sit in it and I'd feel the uncomfortable emotions that I was feeling. And I would really look at it from a 360 view of what this is that's actually coming to surface, right? So I really encourage anyone who's going through something, pay attention to your addictions, to your go-tos, right? To what it is. Some people, if they are feeling really bad, they'll go and talk about the other person because somehow that makes them feel better about themselves, right? Even looking at the difference between doing something from the ego versus from the heart. So we're going to dive a little deeper into that as well. For me, there was a time in my life where I can go back and look at the experience now. I didn't realize it at the time, but I can see it now. Where I went to help my oldest grandson's mom, and I had everyone living with me. This was like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 9 years ago, and because he's 8 now. Anyways, I had everyone living with me, and I was, all like, oh, this is going to be great. She had a lot of hard family issues that were going on, and I was all excited and look at what I'm doing and this and that, and then everything went bad, right? Like it didn't come out with the happy ending. We didn't talk for a long time. It all got ugly and messy. Now, without me really knowing it at the time, I can see that was me coming from my ego, thinking we're going to do this and look how great I am. I don't necessarily think I thought, look how great I am, but there must have been a part of me that did think that. So in the way that and the reason I'm saying this is because when you're doing something from the heart, why this is different. It's like when my mom had her stroke and we found out she had cancer. Obviously I sat in my heart and I said, Mom and Dad, can I come and move in with you and take care of Mom? I didn't have, it was from my heart. It wasn't from my head. It wasn't because I had an expectation of how I thought it was going to turn out. It wasn't because, it's just I knew it was the right thing to do, and I was doing it literally with no strings attached, just because I love you and I feel like you deserve to leave this world out of your own home. And if this is the last that I get with you, then I want to go out laughing and having a different relationship, which is what I got. And so that was like the difference in your choices. So it's really important for people to start looking at the energy behind why they're doing it and what they're doing, right? Like when you start examining your energy behind things, like, is this coming from a loving part of you? Or is it coming because, you think that somehow if you do this, everybody will look at you and say, how great is this person because they did X, Y, Z. Now, there's been times on my journey where I've just done things for people. Most of my stuff now, it's like I don't have much of an ego left, if there's anything even there. The whole journey had broken me down to remove my ego. Like that was the point of the journey. And as painful and exhausting, as angry as I was when the whole process was happening, I'm glad that it happened. And I would, look at me, I'd do it all over again. I don't want to do it all over again. But the humility that I have gained from all these experiences that has happened to me over the past few years, it's priceless. And you really start understanding the value of quality relationships in life and love and pure love, not human conditional love. But who you are, the gifts that you have to offer the world, and other people's gifts. Like when you really go on this journey and you allow yourself to just accept whatever is coming at you, if you can't do anything about it, like for me, it was like it didn't really matter what I wanted. Spirit was like, yeah, you're not ready yet, So it's just accepting that until the universe says you're ready. But no, you're ready, and the universe will always bring the right people at the right time. But if you're holding on to other people and using them as a cause of your happiness or experiences, you're going to fall short, right? So the true happiness you want to find, it's inside of you. It's always been inside of you. And so look at where your go-tos are, where your blaming are, what you're always using, eating, doing the moment you're triggered, right? So when you start looking at and examining these aspects of you, you have the opportunity to stop and change that, because those are just behaviors and patterns that you're carrying around. I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. You can find me at bsmission.org or nicolelynnay.life to learn more about my journey.